I think it's squirt a pebble at me poop sponge. That's a bit of ad lib for you. I don't know what that means. Squirt a pebble out me poop sponge.
Jared, what do you get when you cross an old man, his eternal flame, and his wife of 45 years?
A bag of lentils.
That's close. You get a woman in the ice. We were looking for a woman in the ice.
A woman in the ice? That's brutal.
Sorry, you're going to have to come back next week. You do not get a copy of our home game, but you do get a stab at the 25 thou.
Next time on Woman in the Ice. Hey, spoiler alert, the answer is always Woman in the Ice. Come on, guys. Figure it out. This is a pretty simple game. Hey, everybody. Yes, the Old Boys Podcast is brought to you by Dan Dennerson. I never leave the house without him. Damn.
Hi.
Ooh, that Dan goes down fresh.
I go down very fresh. Hey, guys.
Snack that bites back. That's Jared. Wow, so crunchy. Wow, what a great sponsor. Lots of great sponsor. Okay, I'm going to stop doing that. I don't know why I'm doing it. I apologize.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Dan?
Yes.
You're my best boy.
I am
I just
a
want you to know
best
that.
foolish boy. You're my bestest boy. Gotta one-up you.
Thank you.
Gotta one-up them all.
I
Just like Pokemon.
I feel like we watched the movie. Did we?
I think we did,
one.
but before we watch and talk about the movie that we watched and talk about, I think... Wow, let me take that again.
That was really good. No, we should keep it.
Okay.
No, go ahead. You can do it again.
You mentioned that you wanted to, I don't know, tell me about a couple movies, and there's a couple movies that I wanted to talk about as well.
Hashtag movie talk?
Who wants to talk about their movies first? Mine are going to be really quick.
Since
so I guess I'll talk about the
am
movies
making
first. Don't
words,
worry.
I'll do it.
Okay, so first and foremost, I watched this film called My Mom's a Werewolf. My Mom's a Werewolf.
That sounds so familiar.
I'll give you a hint. It's a 1980s horror comedy. I did not realize that it was going to be a horror comedy, but the title should have tipped me off because...
Well, werewolf.
Well, no. My mom's
Or
a
mom.
werewolf. Yeah, exactly. And they... I think I found out a solution to the sin of saying the movie title in the film itself. If you say it more than once, it becomes okay again.
Really? Oh, because it's like just a stupid joke of like, my mom's a werewolf.
Yeah, basically, but it's not like that stupid. They get away with saying it so many times, and the film is terrible. Like I watched it through to the end, even though I wasn't really enjoying myself. But there were so many. Yeah, there were so many really, really funny moments. Like you could tell that they just wanted to get these moments on film. Like it was almost like sketch comedy, but the sketches were like 10 seconds long. Like one of my favorite moments was at the very beginning where this woman, or the mom, she gets her purse snatched up by this robber, and the robber runs away, and then there's a close-up of him. He turns around, flicks her off, and then runs further. And I couldn't stop laughing the first time I saw it.
Quickly, how are the wolf transformation scenes? Because this is the most important thing about a werewolf film.
I wasn't in love with them, but they were handled creatively, I would say, for the low, because this film reeked low budget, and what they could do with it, it was pretty impressive. The mom didn't want to turn into a werewolf, so she had like she had fuzz all over, and it was like she basically had glue on her, and they threw cotton on her, and that's how. So she started shaving it all off in the bathroom, and then it was weird. But anyway,
sensual.
I know, but the wolf mask at the end with the final werewolf confrontation was pretty decent. But I wouldn't say the transformation was the best. Anyway, stellar review, maybe. I don't know. You can watch it if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it. Just
watch it drunk with friends?
Yes. Now, the other thing, I was in a movie store.
What?
So I picked up, I was in a used bookstore that also happens to sell movies. So I picked up a film, a Nicolas Cage film that I had seen a long time ago, but now that I have been to film school, I'm like, I want to watch this movie again. It's called 8mm.
Yes.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I know about it.
He's a private detective, and like this guy dies, and his elderly wife is like, I found this snuff film in his shit. I want to know if this is true. And then
it turns feces.
Yeah, it turns out to be like this really crazy thriller with Nicolas Cage screaming at the end. But I'm really interested in watching it.
Oh, okay.
That's just preferencing to the other thing I found. So you know David Cronenberg, right? And you know his film Shivers that you got me to watch, where like the whole apartment complex goes fucking bananas.
Oh,
and then
that movie is
Brood.
insane. It's called like The House or something. I forget.
Shivers. But then he had The Brood, right? You remember The Brood and the Scanners? Yeah. So after Shivers, in between Shivers and The Brood, he made another film that I was not aware of. It's called Rabid. And I found it, and I'm like, I'm going to buy this because I've never heard of it. Let me read you the Have you seen this?
I have heard of it. I haven't seen it.
So a young woman develops a taste for human blood after undergoing experimental plastic surgery, and her victims turn to rabid, bloodthirsty zombies who proceed to infect others, which turns into a citywide epidemic. And it stars then porn star Marilyn Chambers in her first mainstream cinema role.
Marilyn Chambers?
Yeah, so I'm going to watch that shit between now and next week, and I'll let you know how I like it.
And her co-star, Stormy Caverns, is here. Wow, what a great day for filmmaking. Okay.
Stormy Caverns.
Can't think of another thing that's like a giant gaping hole, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. Thank you.
Anyway, you can talk about your dumb movies.
Finally, my movies are much more refined. Oh, so I watched Amelie. Finally.
Oh, how'd you like that?
I'd never seen this movie. People always reference it. I finally understand where the Travelocity gnome came from because they directly ripped it off from Amelie. That is. Definitely, they should pay them money. They really ripped them off. It is the quirkiest, weirdest film. It's one of those movies that really goes out of its way to try to be the quirkiest, weirdest thing you've ever seen.
And how does that go over?
It does a good job. The movie is almost 2 decades old now. Mm-hmm. It came out in early 2000, and I enjoyed it. I liked it. There were some moments where I was a little... Because the movie kind of gives you anxiety for how fast and weird it is.
Uh-huh.
I got a little lost in the middle because I didn't understand what the movie was supposed to be about. And then I finally understood. I'm like, oh, it's about, taking charge of your life and helping yourself... achieve your dreams and goals, because the main character is very shy.
Retrieve? Like a golden retriever?
Yes, like a golden retriever. Achieve. I'm sorry. Thank you, Dan, for calling me out on that. So once you retrieve those dreams from your master who has thrown them away, you feel fulfilled in your sub-dom relationship. And I think that's the most important thing.
You know what? I think that is the best description of Amelie ever. I think we can move on to the next film.
I think we can. It's a good movie. I liked it. Very weird.
I don't know. I mean, it's really weird. I don't like those quirky feel-good things.
It is that, and it's a French movie, and there's something about French films that always put me off, where it's like nudity and weird shit can show up at any time. Like the first minute of the film, it shows a baby being born out of a stretched vagina, and if you're not used to seeing that, I know it's a natural thing that occurs in nature, whatever. It's graphique, okay? It's
graphique.
It's like, here it is, and they do it in fast forward, and you're like, what?
Qu'est-ce que c'est? This
Yeah.
graphique.
Yes.
Image.
Oui. So, okay, here's the next film. Veronica.
Now,
Veronica.
Before I let you talk about this, I'm going to let you listen to my Facebook rant.
Okay.
Facebook has ads, like those stupid sponsored ads.
Veronica.
Like, like your friend likes a page, and then they'll show up on your feed. It's like, this person likes this page, and then it'll be a stupid article. Well, I
hate
saw Veronica so many times on that thing where it's like, come watch the Netflix film that everybody's too scared to even finish. I'm like, there's no way, number one, you're being super sensationalized and stupid. Number two, ever since that I looked up Gaia.com after you had that conversation about your dad. Now all I'm getting on Facebook is Gaia.
Facebook is trash. It finds the things you search for, even out of curiosity, and then makes them like, this is your new life now. You have to love this now.
I start getting, dildos.
Oh, God. I look up dildos one time. Oh, boy. Dildo factory. All right, I'll click on it. What? I want to start my own business.
It's a typical Saturday night right there. Yeah, with a plaster cast of my penis.
Yeah.
And by plaster cast, I mean not like Plaster of Paris, but what's that one film with the Band-Aids? The plaster.
Oh, Plaster
Kaleidoscope.
Master.
Yeah.
Kaleidoscope.
Yeah. So we're going to plaster master my penis with all those Band-Aids.
Put plaster on your mom.
We're going to take them off, and it should maintain the shape, in theory.
That's right.
Where are we going? Why don't you talk about Veronica, please?
Thanks, Dan. Oh, am I allowed? No, I'm just kidding. I agree with the whole Facebook thing. I've been thinking many times to just get rid of it and get all my friends that I still talk to and put them on
your dick.
So just some other app, or just message them. I don't know. We just do text messages like old people.
Yeah,
something, because I just can't stand it
anymore.
AOL
Instant Messenger. I don't know.
So Veronica, it's weird that it's getting advertised to you a lot, because it is a Spanish film.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the good Netflix stuff that's on there now is they just outsource it. They take things from overseas that I'm assuming is cheaper to get, and they're all foreign, and a lot of them are great. And
The Similars was amazing.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of good stuff they're bringing over. So I'm like, keep bringing them over. And we started watching it, and it's very well done. The director and the cinematography, everything film-wise about the film is fantastic. The movie. It's not the scariest thing I ever saw, but it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. The story is fun. The visuals are fucking out of control. It gets pretty scary at times. It's not as scary as Hereditary, but that movie has a special place in my heart for being just the most depressing, horrific thing ever. But I can see why people would be hyped up for it after seeing it.
Really?
It's better than A Quiet Place and some of these other movies. And it's like I said, it's much more artistic than a lot of other horror movies that you would see. I had mentioned this before in another episode, how Ravenous is a more artistic version of what a normal zombie movie would be. Not old Ravenous.
Not the one with the cannibals.
Yeah, not the cannibal movie. This is a zombie film called Ravenous on Netflix. It's good. That's also good. But yes, I liked Veronica, and if you don't know, it's like a seance movie about these girls, and it's kind of based on a true story. A lot of it's, of course, fabricated, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I like this movie, and it does some weird shit. There's some like I said, some weird camera work that I think Dan would get your film boner.
I'll have to watch it.
Peaked. You'd be like, oh,
I'll have to pick my film boner up.
So why don't we we get into the film we watched, which I can't even. Oh, I couldn't remember the name of it.
45 years.
This is a film.
45. We have been podcasting for 45 years. That's why I wanted to assign this film. Because I feel like it is so reminiscent of, the trials and tribulations that we've gone through as podcasters, you know?
Absolutely.
Because in many ways, podcasting with a co-host is very much like a marriage. Yeah.
Yes. A marriage you want to escape from.
Yes, of course. I don't know what's so funny. Stop laughing.
Oh, you're right. Dan?
Yes?
Please explain what this movie is.
It's not what I wanted it to be, I'll tell you that.
Oh!
This movie
I'm going to come back to that, actually, once you're done.
Is basically about a aging elderly couple who are going to celebrate their 45th wedding anniversary, like by renewing their vows or whatever.
Yes.
And they're renting out this thing, and they're like, one is like, that's a weird year to do it at 45. It's like, well, my husband was sick 5 years ago. So anyway,
he had
while they are planning this wedding thing, the man in the relationship gets a letter that his old flame was found trapped in the ice in Sweden. Mm-hmm. And the reason why he's getting it is because he was listed as next of kin, because in order to stay, around places in the 60s, you had to be married. Mm-hmm. In order to be like accepted into hostels and the bed and breakfasts. So, bed and breakfasts. It's not right. Anyway, he's like, well, I'm gonna go because she was kind of cool to me. But his wife's like, wait, what? Why didn't you tell me this? I don't know. Whenever I met you
45 years ago.
And he's like, well, it's not really the kind of thing that you want to tell your first date. And she's like, yeah, I get that. But, and then, like, eventually she goes up to the attic where he has all of his old pictures and shit, and
he's obsessing over it.
Yeah, he's obsessing.
It's the only thing he talks about. It's infiltrated their whole life.
Yeah. But she finds out that at one time she was pregnant, like the old lady.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that, because I didn't
at first. That's pretty cool. And then it just kind of dwindles off, and it doesn't really resolve, which normally I like endings like that, but I guess I was just so in action movie mode that, like, I've been recently wanting to get my, my jollies up by, like, watching explosions and shit, that this was so low-key.
You assigned this.
I know. And like, it bored me to death. And I was so surprised. And I'm like, normally I was watching the ending. I'm like, normally I would eat this shit up, but I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous.
I think you weren't in the right mood.
I probably wasn't. I probably wasn't in the right mood. But
if you thought at any point this movie was going to have an action scene.
No. I'm just saying I'm so used to like watching these action thrillers that like that's where my mind has been, and I haven't watched like a low-key movie like this in a long time, like a nice slow burn movie, because this was a nice slow burn movie. I just, like you said, I wasn't in the right frame for it, probably. And
to build on what you're saying, whenever I watch a film, there's these weird expectations in my brain about how a film should go. So like when I see a premise of, here's a couple, a man gets a letter from his old lost flame from like 45 years ago that he went to like I forget it, we're gonna butcher this, but like some like Swiss Alps or something in Switzerland, and she died tragically, and they finally found her body, and now he's reminiscing about it, but it's tearing their relationship apart because the woman feels like this person meant more to him when he was young than their entire 45 years of marriage, because he's so focused on it. And I think like the first thing is, the woman definitely killed this lady.
The woman
back
did?
then. Yeah. I
thought
that
the husband did.
Well, yeah. So you went to murder though, right?
Yeah.
Your first thoughts were like, how do I escalate the story to make it entertaining? The first thing anyone ever thinks of is murder. So it's like that's the easy, cheap way to go about it. But in this film, no.
Do you think that's why people get murdered?
What's that?
Do you think that's why people get murdered?
To enhance the plot of their life? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. Not the murdered person, but the murderee and the people affected by it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. That's what I thought. I mean, it's a great theory, but...
God damn it. But you get what I mean, right?
Yeah,
it's
I know what you mean.
What are the highest stakes you can have? Is like, oh, what if Kate, who is the lady in the relationship, what if she was the one who had killed her husband's old flame?
I know I'm interrupting a lot.
Okay.
But certain things just need to get addressed on this podcast, and I feel like I've been keeping my mouth shut for a good long 3 years. That excuse me, 45 years.
Right.
Whenever you say high stakes, now are these stakes elevated on a pedestal, or did they just smoke a lot of weed? I'm curious. You can't deny my curiosity.
Dan, you're never gonna get any of my high stakes. Ever. I don't even want you to look at them, okay?
I mean, were these steaks grass-fed, if you know what I mean? See, that's
names.
really all I stopped that for was for that fucking stupid-ass joke. You may continue.
I know. Oh, no, I know that's not the only reason you stopped it for. I really thought you were going to say something of substance, but I'm glad.
Okay.
Oh, God damn you. So, you know what I mean? It was almost refreshing to see that this was all there was.
Right.
It was, and the big reveal, I guess, later on was that the woman was pregnant. So it does complicate things that his ex-lover was pregnant. I didn't catch that at the beginning. I actually went and rewatched some scenes.
Well, it's very difficult to catch because of how it's filmed, which I really appreciated.
Because she seems like she's gasping and going like, "Oh my God!" But I'm like, what is she gasping at? I can barely see what she's looking at. But yeah, I figured it out finally. So Dan, actually, I'll give my first impressions. I like this movie.
Okay.
I thought it was fantastically directed. Every aspect of this movie is insanely good. It is certainly not an action movie to any extent. It's just a character study between these two people. Like almost everyone else in the movie does not matter. It's only these two actors who do a fantastic job. Charlotte Rampling, who is just, oh my God, she's so good in this movie. And Tom Courtney, I believe is his name. He's really good too. And just, man, and the supporting cast is really good. I loved how everything looked like natural lighting, but was probably artificially set up. But just everything looked not like a stage. They did a really good job of making everything look as realistic as possible. And the tension that they build in this movie,
it's super subtle,
is so fucking good. But yes, it's in such a subtle way of just somebody listening intently to what somebody's saying, and they accidentally knock over a glass, or just having them sit on someone's face for a while as you see what they're thinking about. There was a scene where she comes down from looking at all the, what's that? What did I say? That's funny. I don't get it.
There was that extended sex scene where she sat on his face. You're right.
That is very true. Oh my God. I mean, there is some elderly sex. Let's get into it. Erectile dysfunction affects 1 in 5 Americans.
Oh, that made me lightheaded.
I'm Wilford Brimley.
I'm just in a silly mood right now.
I like it. Dan. Oh, it's so much fun.
No, I know what you meant by sit on their face. It just, for some reason, it struck a 14-year-old
Sit on their face, dude. Well, I guess we know what the fucking title of the episode is going to be. 45 years of sitting on her face. Or his face.
All right. No. I completely agree. First impressions for me, acting was superb. The direction was, sometimes it's hard to see direction because the acting might be so good, and I just feel like everything in this film came together very well. It's just, like you said, I was not in the right frame of mind, so I did get kind of bored in some areas just because it is a very slow burn. It is very slow, and if I were in the right mindset, I would have been like, oh, this is amazing. But it all culminates in a very good ending. The ending of this film is amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but
and it's not a climactic whoa.
No, it's anticlimactic. No, this is the epitome of what an anticlimactic movie is.
Yes.
is so. You see, I think that's my like. It's so well done. The anticlimax, and it all boils down to like that the lighting, like you said, and the acting.
Oh my god,
because that's what
the
it
acting.
was.
This in like worse hands would be unwatchable. You'd be like, God, I fucking hate this movie.
It'd be like Dark, but
yeah. And just this weird week that they captured is such. It's a good encapsulation of relationships and how they endure, and how, you know, like in ups and downs in a typical relationship. They captured it within all those years in like this one little week that they had. And I've known some people who have had like been in similar situations, not where like their ex-lover had died or something, but that like an ex relationship is affecting their current one in a negative way. And it's a fascinating story. It is interesting because the male lead, you think at first is just kind of like, this guy's kind of sketch. But there's more to it.
Like senile.
Yeah, there's definitely more to it. Yeah. And the woman acts, you know, she's like becoming jealous and confused and everything. But then a lot of the time she's justified in that. Mm-hmm. And it's a really fun back and forth. It's kind of insane. the way they bat each other back and forth with this. I do think that I'm really falling in love with Charlotte Rampling. She's amazing. I want to see more stuff with her. She is so good in this movie, Dan. Ah! Okay, so yeah, I would say go see this film. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any real spoilers? I guess not. Oh. We already kind of said the major thing about the pregnancy.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, like, I think the bigger spoiler is there is no murder. Nobody got murdered in this film. Because that's what I was, hoping for.
You think with any drama there'd be murder?
Here's what it is. I feel like this is going to explain my love-hate relationship with Netflix's what's it called? Their
rating system?
Not rating system, but like their synopses.
Okay.
So this is what I read. After decades of building a life and home together, she learns something new about her husband. Something dark.
No.
Dark?
No.
Dark?
Well, here's IMDb. It says, a married couple preparing to celebrate their wedding anniversary receives shattering news that promises to forever change the course of their lives.
That's better. That's more vague.
Yes.
And if I had read that first, I would have been like, okay, I want to know what this shattering news is. And I would have I would have been more receptive of it. But it's a dark. I'm like,
and I'm surprised it was able to carry the entire film, because I'm like, there's like, when I first heard this, like, oh, it's a letter from saying that they had found his ex-lover from 45 years ago in the Swiss Alps, frozen. And I was like, is that the whole? Is what the whole? Sorry, cut that out. And I'm like, really? Is that what the whole movie's going to be about? And it was, but it was really good somehow. So,
Well, because they just kept introducing new tiny intricacies to the story.
Yes.
Because at first it was like, she doesn't matter because it was so long ago. She died. It was tragic. I'm over it because I'm married to you. But then he keeps talking about it. He's remembering all these details.
Yeah.
Like how the tour guide was flirting with her and he got jealous. He didn't like that.
Yes. And how they went ahead of him. And it's like she's trying to be more understanding about this, and also probably trying to find out more about her because she's jealous. And they're talking in bed about her. And then there's like the scene of when they're at the coffee shop, and he's talking about the environment and how he's worried about, like, we need to do more about, for the environment or whatever. And she's like, what do you mean, like recycling or whatever? And then he starts talking about natural disasters and about how if they were hit by that glacier that they wouldn't survive. And I'm like, holy shit.
Well, then he's
just obsessed with thinking about.
He has so many weird epiphanies.
Yeah.
With this, like, one of my favorite scenes in the film is whenever he's he had just found out about the news, and like that conversation kind of goes, and it's the end. And insert the clip right here, but it's the end of that conversation. And he basically says, "Imagine me going to see her now, and she's just the same as she was back then, and I look like this." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah.
You're crazy, dude."
So how do they know it's her? I mean, it might not be her at all.
Well, they've made an assumption, I suppose, from where they found her. Maybe they can tell from what she's wearing.
What she's wearing?
Oh, yeah. Those airmen in Iceland, I think it was, they were perfectly preserved.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yes, I saw a documentary on it. They were the same as when they died because of how quickly they froze.
And you think that's what happened?
Well, I don't know, but you can imagine.
Sure it works like that. Not after all this time.
How strange would that be, though? She looked like she did in 1962. And I look like this.
Yeah, it's fucked up. What a thing to say to your wife of 45 years. She's like, oh, I look like a terrible old man, but she looks like she did when she was that old. Ugh.
And then he rubs one out.
You fucking pervo. But then that actually has more meaning because, like we said, we find out that she was pregnant. So it could be. I love how there's always two different things. It's not just. It's gray. This movie's a gray movie. It's not black and white.
Well, I mean, it's also gray because it's about old people.
You're right. Memories like the corners of my. So it's like he misses this woman, and he does kind of pine for her in a way, but he's also very sad about maybe. Actually, you're not sure. Maybe also sad about the child that he never had, because in their relationship they never had a child. They made a conscious decision. They made a conscious decision to not have children.
But why? Do you think that loss
wonder,
might be or his reason for not wanting to have him?
Or was it her reason, and now he regrets never having kids because maybe he really did want to start a family and his wife didn't want to do it?
And then
or vice versa, you're not sure.
That they kind of bring up is he used to take a shitload of pictures, but then after that event, he doesn't take any more pictures.
That's right. He had a camera and everything, and they stopped taking pictures. And then they start talking about that, like, well, what kind of photos would you want to keep from our lives? Because his wife didn't like pictures.
Right.
That's what it is. Because his wife, Kate, in the movie, said, well, no, this is Jeff telling Kate. And Jeff was like, well, you always used to say that if you're taking pictures, you're not enjoying the moment. And she goes, oh, I said that? He goes, it sounds like something I would say. So there's so many different things that like he is blaming on her that's dictating their life. And then by the end of the film, she's saying the exact same thing to him. Like everything, every step we did, every movie or music we listen to, like the perfume that like scents we keep in the house, it's all coming back to like this woman. And he thinks like that maybe his life stopped that day, and he's just been trying to like keep that, like the memory of that going for like this long, even by like replacing her with his new wife, Kate. But that could just be her feeling, or that could be totally wrong. Maybe he just likes all those things, and I don't know. That's how the life.
Yeah, because there's like a lot of
you don't know
weird. There's a lot of weird references to that where Kate, they were laying in bed, she's like, was she blonde? And then she's like, no, she had dark hair. And then she's like me,
like her. Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot of really weird parallels you can draw, but the film doesn't make it seem weird. The film makes it seem like it's a very natural conversation that's happening. But then the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, oh, I should have thought that was weird to begin with. Like that is a very strange
has a reason for being in the film. There's no wasted moments in this movie, and I fucking love it, man. I was just enraptured. That's probably the wrong word.
No,
whatever.
That sounds about right.
I was entranced. There we go. Fixated during the entire film, and I thought I was going to be bored, Dan. To be honest, because I had just watched Amelie, Veronica Mars. All the seasons back to back, and I don't know. I was like, oh, I got to watch another movie, and I'm like, it's getting late, but I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. And I was thinking, like, am I gonna fall asleep during this film? And I was just on the edge of my seat, just staring at this the wide shots of like a country farm. You know what I mean?
That's
and
my
they would
favorite
sit on
fucking
those
scene.
after
Yeah.
every day would pass. They'd cut to those just still shots, and I'm like, if I filmed this, it would be trash. Like, I could go outside and film something like this easy, but somehow this movie makes it so interesting. I'm like, how do they do it? Even the simple
tones, bruh.
Yeah, even that simple scene at the very beginning where Kate is walking back to her house and she sees the mailman, and the mailman's like, "Oh, hey, I heard you guys are gonna have your wedding anniversary. Blah blah blah. You know, that's great." And then she's like, "Well, congratulations on your newborn child that you're having." And you think, "Oh, that's just like a nothing line. Why are we even talking about it?" But that completely ties in to their relationship and them never having kids and what happened to the unborn child.
And then it becomes
Jeff.
more complex
Boom.
because it's all subtle. Because, and you may, I don't know if you picked this up, the guy said, "Well, thanks a lot, Mrs. Whatever her name is." And she's like, "Please call me Kate. We're not in school anymore."
Yes.
So she was his teacher at one point. So she technically has always had kids. Maybe that's one of the reasons why she didn't want to have kids. I don't know.
But then deprived Jeff of
Yes.
that love. Oh, yes. That's beautiful love. I really peaked hard there. I apologize. We might have to cut that out. Yes, and speaking of the photos thing, so they were talking about, like, well, if we did take photos, what kind of photos would you want? And they start, like, reminiscing about different moments in their lives.
I
It's
want
very cute.
photos of the dog.
Of the puppy. That's how they
When
talk
he
during the
was
whole
a
film. They're like,
puppy.
I want photos.
Oh God, how bad would this be? Like, because okay, this is an English film, but it's a very refined,
Oh, it's beautiful.
British accent, I guess. But imagine if this was like a Cockney film.
Ah.
Oh God, that'd be so bad.
Did you like going on the glacier? I'm the worst.
Don't be cross, Kate. I'ma have a cigarette.
I'm gonna take a shit. I don't know Cockney stuff. Anywho, they're talking about the pictures and they're saying all these great things. And then at the end of the movie, it kind of that comes back, and I love that. I was like, whoa! All of this was. It had a beginning and end, and it had a conclusion to all these different things. And I love the highs and lows. So, like, there's a moment where things are getting bad, and then it kind of picks up to where, like, the old man is like, hey, why don't we dance? And why don't we do these things and listen to this music? And they're kind of having fun, and then they're feeling sexy, and they're like, oh, we're going to have sex. And they're like 70 plus years old. I'm not sure exactly how old they are. They're old. And they had such a great night. Halfway through the week leading up to the anniversary, and then they get in there, and then they kind of he's just not in. He can't keep his soldier at attention, if you know what I mean.
Ooh.
And but yeah, he's an old man. I don't know. So then he's just like, oh, let's just go to bed. And then she seems so disappointed that like they don't even want to continue to try. And he's just like, ah. And then you think like, okay, it's fine. He's old. But then that night, I'm pretty sure it was that night, he's missing, and then she goes and finds out that he's in the attic looking at fucking old photos,
Probably wanking it.
wanking his little old wrinkled dick, his Surgeon General, and he's not doing that, but like, I love
We
how
don't know because we don't see him.
yeah, and she's like, can you imagine? Your lover sneaks off to go into the attic to look at his old lover from like 30 plus years ago. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing in the middle of the night? This is super weird and not cool.
Well, then the fact that
It's gotta make you
he's
feel bad.
hid it for that long
Yeah.
and never told her.
Yeah. It's and you don't know if you want to blame it on his senility or is he's just being a fucking asshole, or maybe he's going through some weird crisis or something. Oh man, it's weird. And like he keeps bringing up maybe we should go on a trip to Switzerland, and she keeps talking him out of it. And then of course, near the end of the film, when he disappears, he like takes a bus. He's like, I'm going to take a bus instead of going to meet you to go to the wedding or whatever. Or no, I forget what they're going to do that day, but it was like the day before the anniversary. And she goes to the travel agent because travel agents still exist in this world. And
Well,
they don't
yeah.
have the internet. I guess it's more entertaining to see her go to a travel agent than to see her go into his browsing history because God knows what's there.
Dude, travel agents still exist in Tampa. There's
boy.
like 5 of them that I know
Who is
of.
using them, and how do they have employment? I mean,
Good
that's
question.
good. I don't want people to not have jobs, but seriously. I guess you know what? I'll take that back because they probably plan out everything about the trip. But then they only say one sentence, Dan. The lady says one thing to her.
Correct.
Do you remember what it is?
He was here.
Yes. She's like, do you mean the guy looking to go to Switzerland? And that's it. They don't say anything else. It just cuts away, and then she's just sitting quietly thinking about what she had heard. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, if you blink, like, if you got up to get, like, a beer or something, then you missed it. And I was like, wow. And then they have that confrontation in the kitchen.
See, half this film is, them acting together and then her just acting upset by not saying anything and trying to mull it over in her head. And that's
the guy's being a mopey asshole, and she's trying to hold it all together. They do a good synopsis of how the film is playing out with, like, when she's in the clothing store with her friend, and she's like, well, my husband was the same way. He was like just a kind of a mopey jerk during our 40th. And then by the end of it, he had turned right back around and he was crying during a speech. And I'm like, you'll see, it'll be exactly like that. And the movie kind of does play out like that. But then there's also that undercurrent of, like, there's still doubt and suspicion there of, like, are we just holding this together because it's been this way for so long? Or do we really mean the things we're saying? Because now even their song that they dance to and, like, all these other things, they're all linked to this woman, or she believes that to be the case. So I can't even imagine, like, my entire life being thinking, like, all of these things were meant for each other.
That other scene where she's kind of realizing that, and she's talking to the guy who's, organizing her anniversary thing for her. And, like, what is the list of songs that you want? And then she says them all, and then there's that arresting moment where she's like, oh. And she realizes that maybe, this song has more meaning to him than it does to both of us.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And then she's got to dance to one of those at the end.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Oh, so was there anything else you wanted to talk about in the film? I mean, there's more stuff. I've been rambling.
Well, okay, so let's just go to the ending. So,
sure.
There was a scene in the middle where she's talking to one of her girlfriends, and she's like, the whole reason why we have these parties is so the guy can, find his emotional side whenever, he doesn't necessarily show it the entire time. That was her logic behind it, and that makes sense, I guess. But in this, and, like, they keep egging him on. It's like, I want to hear, like, the best speech. I want to hear all good things about her tomorrow or in a couple days.
Yes.
So he gives, like, the most, and this was deliberate too. Just, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's not a good speech. It's like half-assed, tired, like he's trying to ad-lib and failing. Mm-hmm. But it's part of his character, so it makes sense the way he did it.
I like how he stalled on the highs and lows and how we've made mistakes and things we regret. And he really hung on that. He's just like, we really made some mistakes, like real mistakes. And you're like, whoa, okay. Damn, this is getting way too personal.
And then he cries, and then he's like, I love you. And then she, like, comforts him, but then they start dancing to that song. Mm-hmm. And then the very end, it just kind of, like, zooms into her face, and you can see her lip quivering, and her eyes are darting back and forth because she has no idea how to deal with this newfound depression of, like, she's not the woman of this guy's dreams, and her life essentially, I wouldn't say has been a lie, but it has been, like, very, put on for the last 45 years.
She's been a stand-in for what this guy really wanted this whole time. Or maybe in her mind. I mean, And the dude doesn't do a very good job of convincing her
Reconciling,
otherwise.
yeah,
He tries sometimes, but
then again, does he have the mental fortitude to do so? Because it seems like he's kind of on his way out the door because of how senile he is. So like she will never have that that reconciliation because he's not mentally there like he used to be.
Yeah. I liked how he talked about how the older you get, the less choices, the less big choices you make. And how you just like those choices you make when you're young, you stick with them, and they're just the choices you made for the rest of your life. And I'm just like, does that mean good or bad? Like, holy shit!
As we get older, we seem to stop making choices, big ones anyway. Perhaps we only get so many in a lifetime, and once we've used them up, they're gone. Or maybe our brains, they just get a bit old and arthritic, like George's knee. Whatever. The upshot is that the choices we make when we're young are pretty bloody important. Like the choice Kate and me made 45 years ago today.
Well, I think that's like the beautiful thing about that. Like, well, a lot of the things that he says are like that, where it's like, are you saying this because, you're just thinking to yourself, or are you saying this because you are thinking to yourself in a negative way?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Everything seems like a double-edged sword, and that's what's so great about the movie. Every line of dialogue can be interpreted two different ways, to where like it's either loving or you're applying this to something else, or is this an innocent thought, or are you mind cheating on me? With your ex-lover in the
film's
Swiss
biggest
Alps.
success then is the fact that it teeters that line so well, and it doesn't make it very obvious.
Oh, it's an amazing dance of tension. Oh my god. And to be able to make this movie this tense with a film that doesn't have murder, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have this stapled tropes of like all the crazy things like, you killed my father's parakeet. Oh no, but he had the diamonds. We have to solve the mystery. It's like, this isn't like a big sweeping adventure movie. There's so many things this movie isn't.
But do you remember Queen of Earth?
Yes.
And how that wasn't, like, that was another very slow burn. But what about that film did I like better than this film? Because I remember loving that film. And it has like the same kind of principle of like being very tense and slow and just...
That movie was more of a psychological horror movie, but
you're right.
For some reason nobody dies. This movie is not. You're not afraid that they're going to die at any moment.
Floppy drama.
Yes, so there are higher stakes, but it's almost like you're letting your imagination run wild because the film is slowly taking you down this road of what ifs, of like, what if everyone is against you? What if?
See, and like I kind
what
of
if you're going to die?
There's my mistake, because that's a very good point that you brought up. Like I did not become conscious of that until just now whenever you said that. How part of this film's magic is the fact that your imagination is running crazy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the director wants you to feel that way, because I can
and it
totally
works.
see that. Yeah.
And even in 45 years, like that mood setting of just, here's a black screen and just some nature sound effects. And title card, and then like wide pan shot of her walking the dog. And you're like, kind of like, I'm getting the feel for what this movie is. You're setting the tone. And then these simple conversations, you're like, oh, I'm enjoying this. This is nice.
Well, before the nature sound effects, it was like the black screen and then the projection sound effect.
Yeah.
moving.
Yes. The projection sound effects. Wow, you're right. Because that comes in. Like, that's the big reveal, basically. Yeah, it's a hint.
So it's a hint, but then it's also like 45 years, and this like it's a very familiar sound.
Yeah.
Like if you as soon as you hear it, like either you're too young or you know exactly what that sound is.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's 45 years of just these memories that we're projecting, but we don't see the projection.
Wow. That is super cool.
Yeah.
Man. I enjoyed when they had a little conversation where she's trying to convince Jeff to go to this pre-party. It's like a bachelor type. It's like a fake bachelor party where he kind of meets with all his old friends again. And he was so excited to do it. And then because of everything that's been going on, he like doesn't want to go anymore. And then she finally convinces him to go. And then they pull up in the car and she goes, try to have fun tonight. He's so sad. He's like, I'll try, and just like, oh, it's like he's going to a thing he's not going to like. And he goes there and he gets hammered drunk just to even deal with it. And he goes on that rant, like you were saying earlier, of him bitching and moaning about all of his friends. He's like, and my buddy is playing the ukulele. And he's like, and the worst part is everybody loves it. It's probably not a ukulele. I forget what it is.
No, it was.
But then at the end of the film, his buddy's there, and apparently that guy's like his best friend, and he's playing it, and he looks like he's enjoying it, he's having fun, but so it's like, is that all pretending? Like, what was the real thing? Was he just drunk and being a jerk, or did
everything
he really
is just
feel that
pretending?
way? Yeah,
this podcast is just pretending.
That's why during that dance, we're thinking like, oh, they're so in love, because I thought his speech was corny, but I was kind of tearing up. I was like, no, this is sad. But then you feel all this emotion, like if you were really there and you heard this speech, you're like, oh, 45 years. Wow, this is so amazing. But you wouldn't get that other side of it. Like no one else knows the struggle that they're going through of this letter that is tearing them apart and this old love. So it's like we get to see behind that curtain of what's really going on. And that one scene of like when they're done dancing and he lifts her arm up, they're both holding hands and their arm is in the air, and how quickly she pulls away her arm. And then she's just left alone by herself on the dance floor. The wind got knocked out of me, and I went and rewound it, and I'm like, did that really happen? Let me go back. Because I thought the movie was going to end on a happy note. No. And I'm like, oh, no.
It just trickles off in like this nothingness of displeasure and abysmal torment.
Dan, did you think there was any meaning behind her wanting to give him a 45-year watch, like a commemorative watch, and then she doesn't do it? And then we find out at the end that Jeff had given her this beautiful necklace. Do you think there's any significance to that, I guess?
I mean, I'm sure there is.
Maybe it's like her doubt of this relationship. And then him trying to say there isn't any, or it could be like him trying to buy her off. We'd be like, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, you have that, but then like think about like what is a watch and what is a necklace? Watches keep time. So the whole idea of his memory coming back, memories, I don't know. It's a half-baked idea.
And then when they're in the car together and she says, oh, I was thinking about getting a watch for you, but I didn't, and I wish I did. Because Jeff got Kate the necklace. And then he says, oh, don't worry, I don't like knowing what time it is. And at first I thought, oh, that was a cute thing. He's just being nice to her. But then I'm thinking, oh no, what if that means that's because he's living in whatever time he wants?
Yeah.
Meaning he's not in the present time, he's in the past. Holy shit!
So it's a good thing.
No, it's bad because he's living in the past.
No, but it's a good thing that she didn't give it to him because then it would have been a happy ending.
Oh, I see what you mean. Damn, there's one other thing I wanted to bring up. Oh, I had it on the tip of my dick, and now it's gone. Dan, was there anything else?
Normally, it's on the tip of your tongue, and that's probably why you lost it. No, there's actually nothing else. I think we covered everything that I wanted to cover.
So, Dan, what are your final thoughts on this 45 years of podcast marriage?
I may want to go back and watch it again to get all those subtle hints and like pick up on more things in a better frame of mind.
Yeah.
And shame on you, Netflix, for saying dark, because that really ruined everything.
There's I think they hired just like a group of teenagers who haven't watched the films to just try to summarize them. I don't know what they're doing. Dang old millennials. Even though I think I'm technically a millennial.
You are very much a millennial.
I fucking hate that.
I know, me too.
I think of millennial as like a dirty, bad word.
Well, because
people made it that way.
Never mind. Just never mind.
Uh-oh. Dan alert. Dan ran alert.
It's just because it's become so associated with the far left, and the far left is batshit insane.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah. Oh, everything in moderation, I guess. Anywho, I like this movie a lot. It's very good.
Yes.
In all respects. It's like a mastercraft, and when I look at it, I become upset because I know I will never achieve anything this good. It's like, let's see the pros do a thing, and you're like, here you go. You could never do this. You're like, you're right. This movie's so good because to take something so simple and make it this entertaining is out of control.
Right.
So whatever accolades this movie got, then just give it to them. Because you think about like how easy it would be. What's a normal first movie people make? It's usually like a horror movie, right? Because they're fun. I enjoy them, but they're easy to make. You know, you got your action, you got your setup. You could just have it a silly thing, and I love those types of films. They're not a difficult concept to get around. But like this film. It's so subtle in that way, and I really appreciate it. So Dan, I got some movies. A movie.
You said you had a lot of movies.
Dan, I have a movie to assign for you, but we are going to play a not really a game, but more of a choice. Please pick a number 1 through 10, and this will help us narrow down because I have a lot of movies.
Whoa! So, do I only get to pick once?
Yeah, this will narrow down the category, or not category, but like group of movies. You'll see what I mean.
So, okay. So, I'm gonna pick the number 6.
6? Okay. Alrighty. So, do you want to see a movie about war, or that has war things in it? I won't say it's actually a war movie. Do you want to see a sci-fi movie, or do you want to see a film that is basically a punching bag? Like, we're just gonna punch it to death because we're gonna hate it so much. We're gonna hate watch a film.
Let's go with sci-fi because I want to reserve the right, because I have the best idea for my assignment for next week.
All right. So we're going to watch Tau. T-A-U.
Tau.
It just came out recently. Yep. I don't know what the fuck this movie is. I have no idea. Came out this year.
Tau.
It's got Gary Oldman in it.
What?
Ed Serkin? That sounds familiar? Ed Serkin? I don't know. Kidnapped by an inventor who uses her as a test subject to perfect his robotic AI. A street-smart young woman tries to escape her high-tech prison.
Dude, this sounds amazing.
Yeah. Well, guys, I hope this was something. You can find us on oldboys_podcast on Twitter. We got, what the fuck did we get? We're on Stitcher. We're on Podbean. Old Boys Podcast, if you want to search for us there. We're still on SoundCloud. We just kind of got links that point you to Podbean. So Podbean is our main boy.
Little snippets of...
Yeah. What else are we on?
The Twits. We're on the Instagrams.
Yeah. Instagram. What's our Instagram?
Old Boys Podcast. All one word.
Nice. Okay, cool. But yeah, hit us up. Let us know you love old people talking for an hour and a half. Who knows? And Dan, you have the final word.
You know, Jared, I really want a motorbike because I feel like if I had a motorbike, I could ride places without you having to drive me everywhere. Maybe I should do some gardening. Did you know that my ex-girlfriend was found in the ice? A bloody wanker. He just wants to...
If I could just stick my dick in that ice.
Yes.
My old decrepit weenie. All right.